So, welcome back to my channel for another video. As you can tell, this is going to be the high-grade Gundam ground type. This is another one that is Red Bandai. It is a 2018 kit, so it's not old or anything, and it's pretty good. It's obviously pretty closely based off of the GM ground type, which I believe came out a little bit before this. And so the construction is pretty similar, but this is a little different because it's the Gundam variant of it. And I like the box art here because it shows three different ground type Gundams. Because in the show that this comes from, which is the Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS team, a OVA that's 12 episodes, I believe. Eventually, one of the suits gets heavily damaged, and it ends up becoming the Easy 8. And one of the other suits gets its head blown off, and one of the other suits gets its head blown off, and you can recreate that yourself by replacing it with a ground type GM head, which is what they do in the show. It's actually pretty funny looking, but you know, there you go. And let's see what the price was at the time of release. This was 1,700 yen, which roughly it'd be around $17 in American money. Because I know like 1,700 would look like $1,700, but you got to keep in mind that this is yen, not dollars. I know a lot of people might not understand that. Um, there's a really cool picture of the suit and some more information, a little blurb about it. And here, there is actually some translation because it's a more recent kit. So if you want to go ahead and pause that right here, you can go ahead and do that so you can read it. And let's look here. Some more different poses of it, pictures of it, and more translations of actual actions and gimmicks they're talking about. And we'll get to that in a minute, but that's what this side of the box looks like. All right, so that's actually it for the box. So we're gonna move on to the kit. Okay, so here is the kit itself. And I have it in one of its more legendary poses where it's kneeling down or crouched down with the I think it's 120 millimeter cannon or something like that. Let me see. 180 millimeter cannon, my bad. So it's a 180 millimeter cannon. It's pretty big. And this is actually where the main gimmick of this suit actually comes into play. You see, in the show, this is the big weapon that it has. That's like the most powerful thing that makes this Gundam suit dangerous. But in the actual show, this particular Gundam is barely more powerful than a regular GM. And this was the franchise's first attempt at basically a mass production Gundam. Hopefully, to basically replace the GMs with a Gundam that's just as powerful as the original. But they realized that mass production of this kind of suit. Oh, what is that? Okay. Um, Mass production of the suit would have basically issues in that it could never get to be that powerful, because if they poured a bunch of resources into making one suit really powerful and then try and do that to a bunch of suits, it would inevitably cause issues, financial problems. So to circumvent that, they give it really powerful weapons. So visually, I think the ground type Gundam and the GM ground type are just super cool looking. Um, but they do share a lot of similarities with the way they are overall designed, like the shoulder pads and the leg pieces over here. So there's a lot of similarities between them when it comes to design. But I just really like the ground type Gundam's look. I think he looks really cool. But design wise, there's not a whole lot of like panel lining for a lot of the areas. There's some for the legs and a little bit for the arms. There's not a whole lot of panel lining opportunities for the chest, but there's a good amount for the head because the head's got lots of little details in it. That's pretty hard to see, especially with the sunlight coming through. But there's a decent amount there. But what really makes this kit stand out is its accessories, and of course its articulation. Its articulation is pretty good actually. It's a little better than the GM, but not by a lot, but it's a little better. So that actually makes it more interesting to me that its articulation is as good as it is, considering it's so heavily based off of the GM ground type. But anyways, so accessories. Now there's actually quite a bit of them here, so I'm gonna try and go over them as best I can. So first off, obviously, is the shield, and you can tell that the shield can be placed in that ground position that you saw the ground type GM do. You can also fold this piece up and then stick it onto the GM the ground type Gundam's arm if you want to use it as an actual shield, as if you want to display it with one of its other weapons, which, as you can see right here, it actually comes with a beam rifle and a machine gun, which you can also display with if you prefer. The machine gun is way more common to see the ground type Gundam with versus the beam rifle. I don't really remember the ground type ever really using a beam rifle, as far as I know. But I could be mistaken. It has been a while since I watched the show, but I don't ever remember seeing it. Um, but of course, the big draw to this thing is the cannon. The cannon is actually like the big like gimmick behind this kit because you actually have to tear it apart to store it, because you can actually store this weapon on the kit itself, unlike the other two. But here you have to tear it apart and actually put it in the backpack, because this actually flips open, and in there's like a rack, and you have to place the pieces of the weapon specifically on certain pieces of the rack to make it work. Now, if you also want to, you can completely remove the backpack so that you can display it as one of the suits that lost their cargo container, if you want to do that way, because you don't have to have it on there. The Obviously, because it can be torn apart, that means you can remove the ammo clip, and you can also remove the ammo clip from the machine gun, and you can also fold it stock down just like you can with the GM's version of it, which also means that these little pieces on the sides, on the side skirts, that are can actually be removed because they're actually other ammo clips for the machine gun. The rifle, I think you can only move the front handle, and that's the only movement that it has. Um, and of course, you have a holding hand for the left side that you can use to hold onto the extra handle, an expressive hand for that side, and then you have a trigger finger hand for all the different weapons he has that uses the trigger, and a holding hand for the beam sabers for the right hand as well. Now, the beam sabers are actually just like the GM ground type, are in the legs, because these pieces right here fold out, and you can take the beam saber out of its leg, and display it that way if you wish. And this kit comes with beam saber effect parts. They're a little longer than your average kit, but these are basically like they're good. Like any longer than this is too long, but any shorter than this, in my opinion, is also too short. That's like my favorite size of beam saber effect part is like that right there. Um, and unlike most Gundams that actually have Vulcans built into the head, you see this came before. This actually came before the ground type Mark II, not ground type Mark II, the Gundam Mark II, which this means that this one doesn't have any Vulcans in the head, just like the Mark II didn't. But unlike the Mark II that had a separate accessory to replace its lack of Vulcans with a single Vulcan, this one actually has a single Vulcan, I think. Yeah, a single Vulcan in its chest, which is actually a small little plastic gray piece that you can't really see because his arm's covering it. But I would definitely recommend you glue that because it's really loose, and when you're building it standard like normal, it's gonna like pop off a lot and come out quickly. So I definitely recommend you glue that little piece in there. Um, you might also want to glue the V-fin if you have a problem with that coming off. I personally didn't. But a lot of people have issues with the V-fins and the little red triangles coming off. I've had that with my Revive, which I'll get to eventually. But yeah, that's it when it comes to his accessories. So it's actually quite a bit right there that you can choose to display him with, which is awesome. It gives you lots of choices, which is even more so than what the GM come with. When it comes to articulation, as you can tell, it's pretty good. It's better than the GM ground type because the GM ground type, as you could tell, I had to like have its leg just straight back. With this one, I have it bent to the side and stuff to make it look a lot more like it's crouching. So its articulation's a lot better in my opinion. And I think most people would agree with me on that. Um, but yeah, it's actually a really good kit. My rating and recommendation for it. My rating for this particular kit, in my opinion, is I'd say I give it a 7 out of 10. I'd say it's good. So it's better than it's better than above average because that's 6 out of 10. So this is actually a good kit. It's a solid kit for just about any collector or customizer, or if you're just starting off, it's a great starter kit as well because it's not too difficult to put together, and you get a lot out of it, and you have a lots of choices on what you want to display it with. And it doesn't have a whole lot of stickers, so that makes it even better. It does have a small amount of decals that you can choose to use. As you can tell, I used it on the shield for the 08 on there. And there's a little diamond thing on the legs, just like the GM had. Other than that, though, there's not a whole lot of stickers, so that's good. The head has the most, obviously, with the eyes and the camera lenses on the head. The green parts are always stickers, pretty much no matter what version or what kit you're building. Um, uh, uh, and that's something you have to be aware of, and it's annoying sometimes to put Gundam's eye stickers on, like especially if you're pretty new at it. That's one of the reasons why I think sometimes I prefer to get just regular mobile suits instead of Gundams because usually they don't have complicated eye stickers, and Gundam kits are a little bit more complicated than a regular mobile suit. So it's a little tedious sometimes to get those eyes on there and have them line up properly. But yeah, so recommendation, I would definitely recommend it to just about anyone. So it's a high grade, and that obviously means that it's more widely available, so it's easier to find, and it's going to be a lot cheaper than some of the other grades because it's a high grade. It's only about, if you take that price tag into account, the lowest you might find this kit is around 17 bucks. So I say 17 to probably 25 is where you will find this kit, and that's pretty cheap. That's a relatively decent price for a Gundam kit. So yeah, I definitely think that this is a great recommendation. It's great for just about anybody, customizer, hardcore collector, fanboy, or a beginner. Like anybody can get their money's worth out of this, and the more you put to it, the more you add to it and work on it, the more you get out of it. And if you're like me and only do straight builds, then that's what you're going to get out of it. But if you're a customizer or someone who likes to add a lot of detail, you can pretty much add as much as you want to this thing. It's up to your skill and your talent and your willingness to go that far with it. But that's it, guys. I appreciate you watching my video, and I would like it if you subscribed and hit the like button, hit that notification bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video, and I'd really appreciate it. I want to try and get to 10 subscribers by the end of the month. I really hope I can do it. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. And this is Yokai. He's out.